You know Samsung, one of the most famous companies on earth, but the company that just beat it? You've never even heard its name. For 25 years, nothing in Korea was worth more than Samsung, until 2026, when SK Hynix took the crown. $1.35 trillion, knocking Samsung into second for the first time in a generation. And it wasn't close, SK Hynix is up 340% this year, taking the market Samsung built. So how did a near-bankrupt underdog beat the giant? One chip, three letters, HBM. HBM stands for high bandwidth memory. Normal memory chips sit flat, side by side, like houses on a street. HBM stacks them, a dozen chips, one on top of another, into a tiny tower, and drills thousands of connections straight down through the middle. Why does stacking matter? Because the chip's biggest problem is feeding data to the processor fast enough. Stack the memory, shorten the trip, and open thousands of lanes, and the data floods in. You kill the one thing slowing AI down. Which is exactly why Nvidia came knocking. Think of an AI processor as a genius that can answer instantly, but only if you can hand it the questions fast enough. Starve it of data, and all that brain power just waits. HBM is the fire hose, so every cutting-edge AI chip now ships with these memory towers bolted right next to it. Everyone needs it, and demand is so far ahead of supply, the orders are pre-booked more than a year in advance, sold out. Here's the number that explains everything. Of all the HBM made on Earth last year, SK Hynix made about 61%, Micron, 21%. And the mighty Samsung? 17%. The giant came third in the most important chip of the decade. And that lead is only growing. Here's who makes the world's HBM over time. A decade ago, when HBM was born, the two were neck and neck. But year after year, SK Hynix pulled ahead, while Samsung fell behind. Today, it's 61-17. Not a tie, a takeover. Rewind to the early 2000s. Back then it was called Hynix, and it was drowning. Crushed by debt after the dot-com crash, it survived only on emergency loans, and was nearly broken up and sold for parts. It limped along for a decade, until 2012, when the SK Group bought it and bet big. And here's the gamble that changed everything. SK Hynix poured billions into HBM years before AI made it obvious, a chip with tiny demand and a brutal price tag. Samsung, the giant, could see the same chip. It chose to focus elsewhere. While SK Hynix bet everything on stacking memory, Samsung was busy being the biggest chipmaker on Earth. Because make no mistake, Samsung was a colossus. It became the world's #1 memory maker back in 1993, and held that crown for 3 decades. It built the first generations of modern memory. In 2018, it even passed Intel as the biggest chipmaker on the planet. This was the undisputed king. And remember, Samsung is not just phones. The Samsung empire builds enormous ships. Its construction arm built the tallest building on Earth, the Burj Khalifa. It even runs one of Korea's biggest insurers. It's 100 companies in one. But its crown jewel, the one that made it Korea's #1, is Samsung Electronics. And that is the crown SK Hynix just took. And the scale is almost hard to picture. Samsung's Pyeongtaek campus is the single largest chip factory on Earth, about 2.8 million square meters of clean room. That's the floor space of hundreds of football pitches, humming around the clock, etching patterns thinner than a virus. For 30 years, Samsung set the pace. Then the receipts came in. The market crown actually fell second. The first crown fell in 2025. That year, SK Hynix outsold Samsung in the memory business, about $49.6 billion, to Samsung's $46.4 billion. The 30-year memory champion had just been beaten at its own game. But this is the one that stings. In 2025, SK Hynix made a record 47 trillion won in operating profit, and that beat the operating profit of all of Samsung. A pure memory company outearned the entire electronics empire, for the first time ever. The technical crown fell first. The market crown was just catching up, which raises the real question. So, is this the end of Samsung? The case that it's over is brutal. It lost its memory lead. It was late and third on the chip the whole industry is fighting over. Its phone and foundry businesses are under pressure too. For the first time in a generation, Samsung is the one playing catch-up. But not so fast. Samsung fired back with a technicality, count its preferred shares too, and its total value is about 2,246 trillion won, still bigger than SK Hynix. It's racing to qualify its own HBM for Nvidia, building HBM4, and pouring $45 billion into a new megaline. Samsung isn't dead. But it's the one playing catch-up now, and that points to something bigger than Samsung. Here's the part that should stay with you. Empires almost never fall to a bigger version of themselves. They fall to the small thing they laughed off. Kodak invented the digital camera, and buried it. Nokia watched the smartphone coming. Samsung saw a chip for gamers, and looked away. The threat never looks like a threat. It looks like a toy. So the next time someone calls a new idea niche, pay attention to who's ignoring it. So I want to know what you think. Is Samsung finished as the king of Korean tech? Will it bounce back and retake the crown? Or is this whole memory boom just AI hype that's about to cool? Pick one, and tell me why down in the comments. And if you want to see the hidden economics behind the tech and money that runs your life, one clear breakdown every week, subscribe to Playnomics. Like, share, and I'll see you in the next one.